Hello and welcome to NewPod. A man lives among the tombs. No one can restrain him anymore. Then Jesus steps ashore, and soon the whole region must make a choice. Welcome to the story of the demon-possessed man of Gadara. It touches our fears, our hopes, and our relationship with God. First, we will listen to the story. Then we will take time to reflect on it.
Yes, this is more than an event from long ago. The story sheds light on a deeply human experience. It speaks of someone whom suffering has isolated. It also speaks of witnesses unsettled by a healing they do not know how to receive. Jesus stands at the center. His compassion reaches the man everyone seemed to have lost. So one human question guides our listening. What do our choices reveal when fear meets the possibility of change? The story offers no abstract formula. It places this question among very concrete actions, requests, and reactions.
The story appears in the Gospels of Matthew, Mark, and Luke. Their accounts are not identical. Matthew mentions two men. Mark and Luke focus on one. Yet all three lead us to the same heart of the story. Jesus enters a situation ruled by distress, violence, and fear. There he shows an authority that restores the man to himself.
Just before this, Jesus and his disciples crossed the lake. A storm arose. Jesus calmed the wind and the waves. The disciples wondered who he was, since even the elements obeyed him. On the other shore, that question remains. But danger has a different face. After the raging sea, they meet a deeply tormented human life. The crossing links the two scenes. In the first, the disciples fear they will die. In the second, they find a man whose life is already confined to a realm of death. In both cases, Jesus moves forward.
They arrive in the region across from Galilee. Tradition connects this episode with Gadara. Tombs mark the landscape. A herd of pigs is also nearby. From the beginning, Jesus stands in a place his disciples may find foreign and disturbing. Yet he does not turn back.
And the man comes to meet him. Mark and Luke describe him as being under the power of evil spirits. He no longer lives in a house, but among the tombs. People tried to guard him and bind him with chains. Those attempts failed. The force tearing him apart drives him away from everyone. His condition reveals a terrible rupture. A rupture within himself. A rupture with the community. A rupture with a peaceful life. The witnesses know his distress, but their main response has been to contain it. The story does not mock them. It simply reveals their helplessness. When Jesus arrives, no one asks him to heal this man.
We should approach this scene with care. The text speaks of spiritual bondage. It does not allow us to apply the story to every mental struggle or illness. Here, we are telling what the Gospels tell. A man is captive to a power that speaks and acts within him. Jesus distinguishes the person from what enslaves him.
Exactly. The encounter begins with striking tension. The man runs up and bows before Jesus. A voice cries out. It recognizes Jesus and fears his intervention. The combination is unsettling. There is closeness, but not yet freedom. There is recognition, but also fear. Jesus' presence exposes the conflict that held this man captive.
Jesus is neither intimidated nor distracted. He commands the unclean spirit to leave the man. Then he asks its name. The answer is legion, because they are many. The word suggests an overwhelming grip. It does not give evil any greater power. Instead, it reveals the extent of the captivity from which this man must be freed.
Wait, that detail matters. Jesus speaks where every other means has failed. Chains had restrained the body for a time. They had not restored the person. Jesus does not come to add another restraint. His word aims at freedom. It reaches the man exactly where his life seemed no longer his own. The tension now peaks. The power occupying him begs, resists, and seeks a way out. Jesus remains in command of the encounter. He never confuses that power's cry with the worth of the person before him.
The spirits beg Jesus not to drive them out of the region. They ask to enter the herd of pigs. Jesus allows it. They leave the man and enter the animals. Then the herd rushes down the steep bank into the lake. The pigs perish in the water.
The scene is harsh. The story does not try to make it comfortable. It shows visibly that the destructive power has left the man. What was pulling him toward death is now separated from him. Deliverance is not a vague impression. Something has truly changed. But this freedom also brings a loss that shakes the witnesses. The contrast is clear. At first, a man was being driven toward the tombs. Now the force of destruction appears far from him. The text makes us pause over this separation. The person remains. What devastated him no longer controls his future.
The herdsmen run away. They report in the town and countryside what has just happened. The people come to see. Before Jesus, they find the man who had been possessed. He is sitting. He is clothed. He is in his right mind. 3 very simple images. Yet they express a profound restoration.
Sitting, he is no longer driven without rest. Clothed, his dignity is visible again. In his right mind, he can once more own his words and decisions. The story describes more than the end of torment. It shows a person restored to life with others. This is the immediate result of what Jesus has done. Those arriving can finally see him differently. He is no longer merely the man they avoided or tried to bind. His calm presence confirms a change no one can dismiss as rumor. His restoration is now public.
We might expect the whole region to rejoice. Yet fear takes over. Those who witnessed it tell of the deliverance and what happened to the pigs. Then the people ask Jesus to leave their territory. They do not necessarily deny the change. They are overwhelmed by a power that disrupts their world and everything familiar.
This contrast is central. The freed man wants to remain with Jesus. The crowd wants Jesus to go away. The same sign creates 2 opposite movements. One person desires new closeness. The others want a restored distance. So the miracle does not remove human freedom. It calls everyone to respond. The people have seen the consequences of this upheaval. Their request shows that the sign affects the whole community. One restored life alters the balance of an entire region. Personal deliverance becomes a shared question, even when the community would rather not receive it.
Jesus gets back into the boat. The healed man begs to go with him. His request is understandable. The one who gave him his life back is about to leave. He wants to stay near him. But Jesus gives him a different path. Mark's gospel preserves this brief command: go home to your own people.
Jesus adds that he must tell them everything the Lord has done for him and the mercy shown to him. The man obeys. He goes and proclaims what Jesus has done for him. Those who hear him are amazed. The man who lived far from his own people now carries good news among them.
Here is the decisive moment in all its fullness. Jesus' word drives out what enslaves. Then a second word gives a mission. Healing is more than a return to calm. It opens a relationship and a future. The man is no longer defined by his former torment. He becomes a witness who can tell of the mercy he received. His desire to leave with Jesus was genuine. Yet the answer sends him elsewhere. Now he must return among those who know his past. He discovers that his home can once again become the first place of his calling.
The risks now become clearer. The man risked remaining trapped in violence and isolation. The people risk preferring familiar order to a presence that unsettles them. The disciples learn still more about Jesus. His authority is stopped neither by a storm, nor by a border, nor by the power that had taken over this man.
From here, we move from the story to reflection. It matters that we say so. The text has described a deliverance, a population's fear, and a man sent back to his people. We can now ask what this sign invites us to understand, without erasing its tensions, without reducing each person to an easy lesson.
Let us begin with the human dimension. Suffering often isolates. It can also distort the way others see a person. In the story, the man seems known first by his condition and the danger he represents. Jesus sees someone who can be restored. Then he gives him an active place. This transformation reaches beyond personal relief. It touches his home, his loved ones, and an entire region. Courage takes several forms here. The courage to approach feared suffering. The courage to receive a new identity after being defined by pain for so long. And finally, the courage to take one's place among others again.
Human fear also runs through every scene. The unclean spirit fears Jesus' authority. The people are afraid before the sign that has taken place. Even after deliverance, fear does not automatically disappear. The text does not treat these people with contempt. It shows that grace can unsettle us as deeply as it amazes us.
And the healed man's desire deserves to be heard. He wants to follow Jesus in the boat. Jesus does not reject his gratitude. He turns his desire into a calling. His faithfulness will take an unexpected form, staying in his region, returning to his own people, simply telling what happened to him. Here, courage may mean living once again in the place where his story unfolded.
Spiritually, the miracle reveals God's mercy at work. Jesus goes to the one who cannot free himself. He does not bargain with the man's dignity. He confronts what destroys him. Then he sends him out as a responsible person. Compassion is more than a feeling. It restores, raises up, and trusts. This mercy does not erase the man's will. It awakens it. The one whose voice had been overtaken by a foreign power can now express a desire, hear an answer, and choose a direction. Jesus' call confirms the freedom his word has opened.
The sign also reveals Jesus' identity and mission. The one whom the disciples just saw command the sea now commands unclean spirits. God's kingdom draws near as a liberating power. It does not celebrate destruction. It restores human beings to life, community, and speech.
In the wider biblical story, this event continues the great movement of salvation. God reaches, delivers, and gathers. Here, Jesus' work crosses the familiar shore. A man from this region is entrusted with announcing mercy. Even before the disciples travel widely among the nations, word about Jesus begins spreading through this territory. The sign prepares a widening movement. The good news does not remain confined to one shore. It enters a place that seemed far away. And, through the voice of someone restored, it remains there even after the boat leaves.
Yet tension remains. The herd is lost. The people ask Jesus to leave. The text does not explain all their reasons, nor does it answer every question raised by the scene. A respectful reading accepts these rough edges. It keeps the center in view. Someone once captive is now free, and that freedom requires an entire community to take a position.
Today, this story can first transform how we approach suffering. A person is never reducible to a crisis, isolation, or the fear they cause. Compassion begins by recognizing a person where others see only a problem. It seeks the right kind of presence. It also knows when to ask for suitable help because a situation exceeds our strength. Approaching suffering means neither explaining everything nor imagining we can solve everything. It may begin by refusing a label. It may continue through patient listening. Compassion respects the person, their limits, and the support they truly need.
It may help to recognize what feels like exclusion in our own lives. Perhaps hidden suffering. Perhaps a broken relationship. Perhaps a fear that has grown overwhelming. We should not hastily compare every difficulty with the possession described here. We should honestly name what requires help, a decision, or a change.
A simple action can take shape this week. Reconnect with someone who is isolated. Listen without reducing their story. Ask a trustworthy person for support yourself. Or offer practical presence with sensitivity. These actions do not reproduce the miracle. Yet they can become modest signs of compassion.
And there is another step. Read Matthew, Mark, or Luke personally. Observe what Jesus does. Listen to each request in turn. The Spirit's request, the people's request, the healed man's request. Then notice Jesus' answers. This slow reading helps us distinguish the biblical story from our hasty interpretations.
The central idea takes only a few words. Amid human decisions, frailty, and upheaval, a greater story continues to unfold. At Gadara, Jesus restores a person. He reveals an authority shaped by mercy. He also gives the restored man a place in proclaiming what God is doing.
We can hold within us the part of the story that most directly touches our lives today. The man's loneliness, the people's fear, Jesus' nearness, or the call to return to his own people. Let this word mature without pressure. It does not condemn our frailty. It opens a path of truth, trust, and faithfulness.
Let us pray. Lord, open our minds to your word. Through the story of the demon-possessed man of Gadara, help us recognize our own struggles. Teach us to welcome your call. Help us move forward with greater truth, trust, and faithfulness. Give us compassion for those who suffer. Amen.
Thank you for listening to this episode of NewPod. In our next episode, we will continue our journey through the biblical stories and the signs of the kingdom. Until then, hold on to this image. A man once rejected returns to his own people. His restored life becomes, in itself, a proclamation of mercy.